Hi guys. So we are really sad that we could not do this with the fifth grade this year in the schools. But we thought it might be fun to try and do it virtually. So this is the Spy Ring, Washington Spies. Oops. The Culper Spy Ring. During the American Revolution, a small group of patriots secretly formed a spy ring under the direct orders of General George Washington. This group, known as the Culper Spy Ring, would ultimately change the course of the American Revolution. The Culpers carried intelligence and secret letters from Setauket, Long Island to Fairfield, Connecticut, and then eventually to George Washington. For close to 5 years, the ring worked under the cover of darkness and danger so that America could be a free nation. A revolutionary cause. British forces occupied New York in August 1776, and the city would remain a British stronghold and a major naval base for the duration of the Revolutionary War. Getting information from New York on British troop movements was critical to General George Washington. There was simply no reliable intelligence network that existed on the Patriot side at this time. In mid-September 1776, the American officer Nathan Hale was hanged without trial in New York City. British authorities had caught Hale when he was on his way back to his regiment after having penetrated the British lines to gather information. Hale's death illustrated the grave dangers inherent in spying for the rebels during the Revolutionary War, especially in the British stronghold of New York. Meanwhile, Benjamin Talmadge, a young cavalry officer from Setauket, had enlisted in the Continental Army when the American Revolution began in 1775, and was soon awarded the rank of major. Benjamin Talmadge quickly became the head of Washington's intelligence unit. He established a small group of trustworthy men and women from his hometown of Setauket, Long Island. Talmadge recruited only those whom he absolutely trusted. This began with his childhood friends, the farmer Abraham Woodhull and Caleb Brewster, whose main task during the Revolution was commanding a fleet of whaleboats against British and Tory shipping on Long Island Sound. The group became known as the Culper Spy Ring. Brewster, one of the most daring of the group, was also the only member whom the British had definitely identified as a spy. Talmadge went by the code name John Bolton, while Woodhull went by the code name of Samuel Culper. The central figure, Robert Townsend, codenamed Culper Jr., was a society reporter for an American newspaper and the owner of a small dry goods store in New York City. The newspaper gave him access to social functions all over town, where he could talk to British soldiers without having them assume anything. The dry goods store gave him access to people in and outside the city who were in need of goods and sometimes a little extra information. In order to pass information from New York City to George Washington in upstate New York without being caught, the Culpers created an elaborate scheme.
Uh-oh.
It was so elaborate that at times it acted to their detriment. The way it worked is this. So this is, I think this is so creative and amazing. And if you think about the way soldiers now get their information from drones and computers, this, I think, even tops it. So the way it worked is this. As Townsend gathered information about the British soldiers in New York City, Austin Rowe would drop by the store every once in a while to buy goods for people on Long Island. At the store, Rowe would put in a request in writing from a John Bolton. Bolton was the code name for Talmadge. Townsend would give Rowe the requested goods and Rowe would leave. Then Townsend would sneak out back when no one was looking and run up to a small room close to the shop. There, he would read what Talmadge had written and answer the letter. Roe would show up again at Townsend's room and take the letter back with the answers. Hiding the letter within the package, Roe, a courageous man, not afraid of riding great distances, would ride as fast as he could the 110 miles to Setauket, New York, where he would hand off the letter at its first stop. Once in Setauket, Roe dropped the letter off in a field that he had rented to tend his cattle. He would tend the cattle and place the letter in a pre-arranged drop box. After Roe had gone, Aaron Woodhull, codenamed Culper Sr., would enter the field, which was right next to his house, and pick up the letter. Woodhull would add his own information to it, then look across the bay to see where Anna Strong had placed her black petticoat on the line. This petticoat would let Woodhull know that Caleb Brewster had arrived in his whaleboat to take the letter across the bay. The number of white handkerchiefs on the clothesline would tell Woodhull where exactly Brewster was hiding, or which cove he was in along the shore. She's pretty cool. Under the cover of darkness, Woodhull would sneak to the cove and give Brewster the message. Brewster would row back across Devil's Belt to Fairfield, Connecticut, and give Benjamin Talmadge, who would be waiting on his horse on the other side, the letter. Finally, in a series of mounted dragoons posted every 15 miles, the letter would be passed all the way to Washington in New Windsor, New York. The end.
Yay.
When the hostilities ceased in 1783, the need for the Culper ring came to an end. Washington had a high opinion of the Culpers, but never met any man. Although he knew Culper Sr.'s real name, Talmadge and Woodhull kept Culper Jr.'s identity a secret. In fact, Culper Jr.'s identity was not revealed until 1939, when the Long Island historian Morton Pennypacker noticed a fascinating resemblance between the handwriting of Culper Jr. and Robert Townsend. Talmadge and the Culpers had no desire for public recognition and never publicly discussed their activities during the war. Rhode Island. Perhaps the group's greatest achievement came in 1780 when it uncovered British plans to ambush the newly arrived French army in Rhode Island. Without the spy ring's warnings to Washington, the Franco-American alliance may well have been damaged or destroyed by this surprise attack. Your mission. Word is that the British plan to ambush a unit of the French army arriving in Rhode Island. If this happens, the consequences could be devastating to the French and American newly formed alliance. You must get information to General George Washington, because only he can stop the British troops. The rules and guidelines. So these are very different from if you were doing it in school. You're going to go clue by clue to relay the information to General George Washington. You cannot skip around. This information is on our website. It's going to say, you'll figure out the first clue and then find where that clue leads and click on the next link, and it'll keep going that way. You'll know you're going in order because on top, once you open the link, it'll say clue 1, clue 2, clue 3, clue 4. You also are given a spy book, codenamed Common Sense by Thomas Paine. You will need this book to figure out clues, so make sure you pay attention. And I think that is it. So enjoy. Again, I wish we could be doing this in school, but that's okay. All right, have fun, guys.
Bye.